In the summer of 1994, one of the most shocking and controversial murder cases in American history unfolded. O.J. Simpson, a beloved football star and actor, was thrust into the spotlight not for his athletic prowess, but as the prime suspect in a double murder. It all started on a warm June evening in 1994. In Brentwood, Los Angeles, a neighborhood known for its wealth and affluence, the bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were discovered outside Nicole's condominium. Nicole, the ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, had been brutally murdered. Her body lay in a pool of blood, her throat slashed so deeply that it was almost decapitated. Nearby was the lifeless body of Ron Goldman, a waiter at a local restaurant and a friend of Nicole's. He, too, had been stabbed multiple times. The crime scene was horrific, violent, chaotic, and personal. Blood was everywhere, splattered on the walls and floor. It was a crime that spoke of rage and passion, not something done by a stranger but by someone close. But who could have committed such a terrible act? O.J. and Nicole had once seemed like the perfect Hollywood couple. O.J., a football legend turned actor, had it all: fame, fortune, and adoration from fans. Nicole, beautiful and outgoing, appeared to be the perfect partner. But behind the glamour was a relationship filled with turmoil. The couple had a history of domestic violence, with the police being called to their home on more than one occasion. Nicole had even confided in friends, expressing fear that O.J. might one day kill her. Yet, no one could have predicted that such a horrific tragedy would occur. In the days following the murders, O.J.'s behavior became increasingly erratic. When police contacted him, he was uncooperative. Detectives noted a deep cut on his hand, which Simpson claimed happened accidentally. But there were inconsistencies in his story, and evidence was mounting. Forensic investigators found a bloody glove at the crime scene, and a matching glove was discovered outside O.J.'s estate. Blood samples taken from his Bronco, home, and clothing were a DNA match to Nicole and Ron. O.J.'s white Ford Bronco, in fact, was a key piece of evidence. It had traces of the victim's blood inside. Yet despite all this evidence, O.J. Simpson was not immediately arrested. Instead, something even more dramatic was about to unfold. On June 17, 1994, 5 days after the murders, O.J. Simpson was supposed to turn himself in to the police. But instead of facing the charges, he vanished, leaving behind a note that many interpreted as a suicide letter. What followed was one of the most surreal moments in American history: a low-speed car chase that played out live on national television. Millions of people watched as O.J. Simpson, hiding in the back seat of his white Ford Bronco, was pursued by dozens of police cars along the Los Angeles freeways. His friend, Al Cowlings, drove the Bronco while O.J. reportedly held a gun to his own head, threatening to end his life. The chase lasted for over an hour, with news helicopters hovering overhead and people lining the freeways, holding signs in support of Simpson. In the end, O.J. was coaxed into surrendering at his Brentwood home. The chase had captivated the nation, but it was just the beginning of what would soon become the trial of the century. The trial of O.J. Simpson officially began on January 24, 1995. It was a media spectacle like no other. The world was glued to their television screens as every moment of the trial was broadcast live. The prosecution, led by Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden, presented a mountain of forensic evidence. DNA samples, blood trails, and the infamous gloves linked O.J. to the crime scene. Nicole's blood was found on O.J.'s Bronco, and his own blood was found at the murder site. But it wasn't just about evidence. The trial became a battleground of race, class, and celebrity. O.J. had hired a dream team of defense lawyers, including Robert Shapiro, Johnny Cochran, and F. Lee Bailey, some of the best legal minds in the country. The defense, led by Cochran, argued that O.J. had been framed by a racist police department. They claimed that Detective Mark Furman, a key figure in the investigation, had planted evidence to frame Simpson. Furman, who was later found to have used racial slurs in the past, became a central figure in the defense's argument that O.J. was being targeted because of his race. The defense's most iconic moment came when O.J. was asked to try on the blood-stained gloves found at the crime scene. In front of the jury, the gloves appeared to be too small for Simpson's hands. Cochran then delivered his now famous line, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." This one sentence, combined with the visual of O.J. struggling to put on the gloves, would change the course of the trial. From that point on, the defense focused on casting doubt on the evidence. Was it possible that the police, desperate for a conviction, had tampered with the evidence? And more importantly, could the jury trust anything presented by a police force that had a history of racial prejudice? As the trial dragged on for months, it became clear that this wasn't just about guilt or innocence, it was about much more. It was about race, power, and whether a rich, famous man like O.J. Simpson could really get away with murder. On October 3, 1995, after 9 months of testimony, the jury reached a verdict. The entire nation waited with bated breath as the decision was read aloud. O.J. Simpson was found not guilty. The reaction was immediate and intense. Many people were shocked, especially those who believed that the evidence overwhelmingly pointed to his guilt. Others saw the acquittal as a triumph, a victory over a corrupt and racist legal system. The verdict divided the country. In many African American communities, it was seen as a just outcome, a long overdue win in a system that was often stacked against them. But for Nicole and Ron's families, the verdict was a devastating blow, leaving them without justice for their loved ones. Even though O.J. was acquitted in the criminal trial, the story didn't end there. In 1997, the Goldman family filed a civil lawsuit against O.J., and this time, the jury found him liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. O.J. was ordered to pay $33.5 million in damages, but the civil trial didn't have the same impact as the criminal case. By then, the public had already moved on, though questions about O.J.'s guilt would linger for years. Simpson's life after the trial continued to be filled with controversy. In 2007, he was arrested for an armed robbery in Las Vegas and sentenced to 33 years in prison, though he was released on parole in 2017. Even now, O.J. remains a polarizing figure, forever tied to the murders that shocked the world. But here's the question that haunts many people to this day. Did O.J. Simpson really commit those murders? Was he a violent man pushed to the edge? Or was he the victim of a corrupt system that framed him for a crime he didn't commit? Even though the official story is that O.J. was acquitted, there's always been a lingering doubt. Some believe that O.J. was innocent, that the real killer is still out there. Others think that the trial was simply a case of a rich and famous man using his resources to avoid justice. So what do you think? Was O.J. Simpson guilty of murder, or was he truly innocent? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of true crime.